You are now listening to Playbook Radio. Here is your host, Martin Williams.
And thank you for tuning in to the Playbook Radio podcast. My name is Martin Williams. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. You may do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. All the links to the podcast can be found at gameplanplaybook.com. That's gameplanplaybook.com. So today what I wanted to talk to you about is about how the mind is only creative, okay? So the mind can create whatever you give it. If you give it something destructive, it'll create that. If you give it something constructive, it'll create that. Whatever idea you give it, and it's basically, as long as that idea remains in your mind and you're not distracted with another idea, it will create that idea and create the manifestation, the physical representation of that idea. So a lot of people, you've heard of mindset and you've heard a lot of people talk about it. And just like there's 100 ways to make a hamburger, there's 100 ways to talk about mindset. And I don't think there's any right or wrong way to discuss it. It's just my interpretation of the subject. And my interpretation, my view of mindset is, and you can take what resonates and leave the rest, it is the molding of your mind. And it's the molding of your mind in the form of which you want to live your life or want to create your life. Some time ago, when I first started really getting into the study of mindset, I was riding a subway train in Philadelphia, and I was on my way to work. And I was really struggling in multiple areas of my life. And I was trying to figure out how I got there. And a big part of it was my decisions. And I had made some really bad decisions. And I had to own that in a lot of ways. But I was the one who had made those decisions. So I couldn't blame anyone else. You know, I put myself there. But I also had to figure out, how do I not get back there again? How do I make a different or a better decision next time around? And I had to think in terms of, how do I shift my mindset? And how do I go from being a victim to being the main actor or the main protagonist of my life? How do I go from things happening to me to I'm making them happen, or they're happening because of me, or happening through me and then for me, right? So one question in particular really put my life on a different course, on a different track, and it really wasn't the same since I asked myself this question. What is the difference between a successful person and an unsuccessful person? And more to the point, does a successful person think the same as an unsuccessful person? And the answer obviously is no. We don't think of it always in such simple terms, though. And when you think about a successful person, you think about sometimes, how did they get there? What type of advantages did they have? What type of breaks did they get? But it's not really about that. It's really about their thinking. And it's really about a mindset of, I'm going to make this happen for myself. And not really thinking about the alternative. A successful person doesn't think about something that may go wrong, or, it might happen, it might not. They don't think in terms of a plan B or a failure plan. No, they think in terms of success. And I think a lot of times people don't think of it like that, but the good thing is that you can reverse engineer your thinking to think like a successful person. Have you ever seen a person who comes from means or wealth or privilege fail? It's almost a catastrophic event. And I don't mean to make a joke about it, but sometimes some people, they're so used to succeeding, they don't know how to handle failure. Whereas, if you're like a lot of us, you can basically give a course on handling failure because you've been through it so much, right? I remember not too long ago, I saw this one podcaster. He had a podcast on how to create grit in entrepreneurs. And I said, well, isn't that interesting? Because that's one thing I don't need a course in, is creating grit, because I've been through so much. But a lot of people, they haven't really had to deal with setbacks. They haven't had to deal with failure. So it can be hard. And in no way am I'm not making a joke out of it. It can be hard when you've never experienced that before. But the answer is the same for that person, whether you've been successful all your life and you just now experience a setback, or you've failed your entire life, or you've had setbacks your entire life, The answer is the same for both sets, both groups. You have to think like a successful person. You have to think in terms of, this is going to work. This is going to happen. I'm not, and I'm not allowing the thought of failure to enter my mind, okay? It doesn't mean I don't prepare. I'm just not going to think about it. You can be prepared for something and not be thinking about it all the time. It's two different things. But when you prepare for whatever happens, but only think of success, the mind is only creative. It will only create what you give it. It does not play favorites. If you think in terms of failure, if you think in terms of, this person's going to turn me down, or you think in terms of, this job is not going to hire me, or this client is not going to sign on, or whatever the case may be, if you think in terms of that, then that's what you're going to get. But if you think in terms of, I'm going to have a successful month, I'm going to have a successful year, this business is going to do great numbers, going to make a ton of money, right? And you continue to think that, your mind has to create it. I'm not saying it might create it. I'm saying it has to, because it's a law. So if you think from that place, you're going to start to see a change in your life. So thank you so much for listening. My name is Martin Williams. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to Playbook Radio. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share this podcast with family and friends. And if you're ready to take the next step in your personal development journey, consider trying Mental Recoding by Playbook Strategies. These short audios are designed to help you reprogram your thoughts around different life subjects, such as finances, health, work, relationships, and much more. Click the link below to explore mental recoding products to help reshape your mind.